I'm sorry about the lighting, it's raining, so I'm just trying to make do. Hey guys, it's Reagan and today I'm going to be bringing you my April wrap-up. I read a lot of great books this month, so I'm definitely excited to get started. This video is in part being sponsored by Penguin Random House as well as HMH Kids. However, before I get started, I do want to make a quick and very exciting announcement. I am involved in an anthology collaboration between booktubers and lots of best-selling authors. The anthology is called Because I Love to Hate You, and it's coming out being published by Bloomsbury summer of 2017. As a booktuber, basically I'm being paired up with an author and I get to give them a prompt for them to write a short story. I am by no means writing a short story. However, I am writing a short essay introduction where I get to talk about kind of my feelings about villains and also kind of how I came up with the prompt itself, as villains are honestly my favorite aspect of most books I read, as I find them to be the most dynamic and interesting characters. But yeah, more information as more information is allowed to be released, but I thought I'd let you guys know right now, as we just got the okay to talk about it yesterday, so exciting stuff. Alright, so let's just go ahead and jump into the rest of the video. For the month of April, I read 6 books. Again, liked them a lot, so here we go. The first book I'm going to talk about is The Yoga of Max's Discontent by Kiran Bajaj. This book comes out May 3rd, and I've already done an entire review on it, which I will leave linked down below. I really liked this book. This book follows our main character Max, who's kind of lived the quintessential American dream. He grew up in a very poor part of New York City and had a lot of trials and tribulations there, but ultimately he went to a really great school and now has a very high power, high paying job in New York. However, on the eve of his mother's death, he realizes and wants to reevaluate some of the things he finds important in life, so he kind of packs up, leaves everything behind, goes to India in search for enlightenment, and kind of joins this yogi path. I really liked this book. It left me with a lot to think about. I'm not a very spiritual person, but it's always interesting for me to read people's spiritual journeys, if that makes sense. The aspect of this book I ended up enjoying the most was definitely the setting, as it was set in majority in India, and I don't think I've read many books set in India at all, as well as the yogi culture, which I knew absolutely nothing about going into this book. The author is from the Himalayan foothills and also is kind of an amateur yogi, so I felt like his knowledge really made the book very rich, but it also was very accessible for someone like me who literally has never heard of this at all. So ultimately I gave this book a 4 out of 5 stars. If you want more of my in-depth thoughts, again, look out for my review, but yeah, I really liked this guy, and it has an honestly stunning cover. Next book I picked up was Tell the Wind and Fire by Sarah Reese Brennan. This is her newest release, and I've actually read her previous trilogy, the Unspoken trilogy, which I really enjoyed, so I was definitely pumped to pick this up, especially when I heard it was a Tale of Two Cities retelling, which is one of my all-time favorite classical stories. It's just a really, really great book. Obviously, as this being a Tale of Two Cities retelling, it is set in and around this idea of revolution. You're introduced to this world as an alternate United States, and it's basically separated into dark and light. The light side of the country is powerful, they have the good magic, they are rich, they are well off, they are, you know, doing great with their lives. And then there's the dark side, which is they have the evil magic, they are poor, they are the majority, and they are unhappy. Our main character was born in this dark side and was ultimately brought to the light side to become kind of their spokesperson, kind of their political image. But ultimately, as you can tell from the premise, this cannot hold up and revolution sparks. I really, really liked this book. I found its plot to be fast-paced and engaging. I really liked the setting and the world, especially because it's a retelling of one of my favorite books. I flew through it very quickly. I will say, however, I found the characters to be a tad bit flat, which made me a little sad. They weren't very memorable. I feel like this can be built on in later books though, so it was still, I think, a worthwhile read if you're interested in the plot and the device. Ultimately, I gave this book a 3 stars, 2.75 stars. I thought it was good. I thought it was a good start to a series, so yes. Book after that, I fancied a bit of romance, so I decided to pick up Blackmore by Julian Donaldson. This is a period piece romance set in the 18th century. It follows our main character, Kate Worthington, and she's from a family she's not a huge fan of. And she really does not want to marry. She doesn't want to give up her freedom, and in fact, she wants to move to India with her aunt. However, her mother kind of strikes a bargain with her. Basically, if she goes to this estate and can turn down 3 proposals, she's allowed to leave. So she takes up this bargain, and that's kind of the start of the story. I really enjoyed this book. I flew through it so quickly. I was kind of expecting it to be stereotypical, but ultimately it very much surprised me. Like, the strength this Kate had in this time period to stick to her ideals and stick to her guns was so admirable, and I really appreciated how the story ended up unfolding and ending. It was like refreshing. I was honestly expecting the opposite to happen, and it really, I don't know, it was just refreshing. It was just a nice thing to see, and especially in a story like this. The romance was so cute and also very angsty, and appropriately so. You could really tell these characters deeply cared about each other, and it was very believable. Again, I read this in like 2 days. I really liked it. I thought it was honestly exactly what I wanted, and I wish they'd make this into a movie so I could watch it with my eyeballs too. So I ended up giving this like a 4.5 out of 5 stars. It was super cute. Next up, I read one of my most anticipated books of the year, and that is Flamecaster by Cinda Williams-Chima. This is the new book and her continuation of the Seven Realms series. It's a spin-off series, but after reading this book, I'm going to recommend that you read the first 4 books before you start this. However, this book was awesome. I'm not going to talk much about the plot because I don't want to spoil anything, but I will just say for people who have read this and the original series, she murdered me in the first 30 pages. I almost didn't even continue reading after page 26 because of something that happened. But again, this book is just another example of Cinda Williams-Chima's skill and strength in being able to make distinct and very different characters and ultimately weave their stories together in very interesting and complex ways. I love her stories, I love her characters, I love their motivations, and I love the situations they find themselves in because it reflects so easily on like current day issues. I just love her story so much, and I thought this book was a great introduction. I cannot wait for the next book of this series. I never want her to stop writing because I love her book so freaking much. And I gave this book a 5 out of 5 stars. I want the next one. I had to wait a whole freaking year. The next book I picked up was Into the Dim by Janet B. Taylor. This is a YA time travel fantasy novel, and it follows our main character Hope. It opens with Hope attending her mother's funeral. Everyone in her family, everyone around Hope in her hometown believes her mother has died in an earthquake and her body was never recovered, however. Hope feels that something greater has happened. After the funeral, Hope is called back to her mother's family home in Scotland, and there she discovers that she comes from a long line of time travelers and that her mother is in fact not dead, but stuck in like 12th century Scotland. So there begins our story. I found this book to be a whole lot of fun, and honestly, I found the time traveling element to be very well done, and in fact, I really liked the setting of this book. I have not read a historical fiction YA book set in such a medieval time period in Scotland following some of history's most interesting players. Therefore, as a history person, I really liked that. It's definitely by far my favorite part of the book. In fact, I found this book's biggest flaw was that it took them so long to get there. I was like, can we time travel yet? Can we time travel yet? It took like halfway through the book for that to happen. But when it did happen, I was totally committed. I really liked this. I thought it was a lot of fun, and again, Scotland. In the end, I gave this book a 3.5 stars. It was really good. I do recommend it. And the last book I completed this month was Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, finishing out my reread of Harry Potter, which is really, really sad. This is the first time I've actually reread this book, and now that I finally have accomplished that task, everything just seems a little bleaker because you know how you just live your life with Harry Potter? At least this is how I've been living my life with Harry Potter for a while. It's like, oh, well, I can just reread it, and I've never reread the last one before, and now I've done it. So now what do I do? I don't know. It was awesome. I cried so much. I love Harry Potter. Alrighty guys, those are all the books I read in the month of April. Let me know down below the book you loved the most that you've read this month or recently. I would love to know, and I will see you guys soon with another video soon. Goodbye!